What's going on, guys? This is Damien from the Lookout, and I am here with the big one. Yes, the big BT21 data breakdown, competitive meta-analysis, the most objective image of the current meta. Guys, it took forever to make this one, but now we're like halfway done with the competitive season. We by this point, I hope that we got BT22 spoilers, because this is coming after the live stream. And what better time than now to take a look at the BT21 meta to see where it's going. But before we begin this video, huge shout out to the Coffee Club, our patrons: Anthony, Crash, Brian, Miguel, Nave, Emre, Ryan, Frank, Scotty, Eric, Bixen, Bryce, Fernando, Derek, Adnan, Jakub, and Golden Feather Kiryu. These are our $2 and up patrons. They buy us coffee, they help us keep going, and eventually we'll buy a new table. If you wish to join the Coffee Club, link to the Patreon is in the description below. And guys, yeah, I think that's it. Let's check out the big one. Roll the video! As with all of our videos, let's start with a breakdown. So this is the data compilation of the first half of BT21 meta. We are considering 7 regional events in total. So this is data from the latest 7 regional events. We're only looking at top 16 data because I don't have access to everything, and I believe that top 16 presents a pretty good picture of where the competitive metagame is. Top 8 a bit clearer than top 16, but we are looking at the top 16. Please keep in mind that 2 of these events had only the top 8 decks reported. So 16 slots, basically, in grand total, 16 slots are missing. But thankfully, we have the top 8. And that's what we need for a bigger insight, a better insight into the current state of the metagame. The missing 16, since they are from 9th place onwards, and there's only 16 of them, it's too low of an amount to matter. It's not statistically relevant, especially when you see what the metagame actually looks like. It would have to be something crazy to actually change the state of the metagame, like to change the state of the report at all. And finally, guys, gathering and going over this data took forever. This is days of work for me to organize it in my sheets and to create these graphs, these compilations, to analyze everything, to calculate all of the decks. It takes so long. So guys, please consider subscribing to help us grow. We are on our way to 3,000 subs, and hopefully we can get there by the end of this summer. That would be awesome. We're not that far away. Hopefully we can get there. Now, let's jump into the breakdown. Let's start with top 16 decks. Like, we're starting top 16, then we'll start zooming in a bit more. So, top 16 leader representation across 7 events. 96 decks registered in total. We are only taking leaders which had more than 4 top 16 finishes into consideration. There were some which had like 1, maybe 2, I'm not sure about 2, but mostly it's like 1, and we're not taking those into consideration. Those are outliers, you know, like those are like, hey, it's played by an extremely skilled pilot and it got into top 16. They're not data relevant. They're just not. But looking at the bigger picture, what do we have here? So, first off, we have a lot of diversity here. We have 10 leaders, 10 different leaders in the majority of the top 16. That's awesome to see. So this paints a good image of the metagame. Gohan is in overwhelming numbers compared to everything else. There's 27 Gohans in total across top 16 decks. Now, don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by the 27 number here. If you look at this percentage-wise, it's about 28% of the metagame. So 28% of the top 16 metagame is Gohan. it's not as prominent as Sin and Gogeta. It's just not. Like Sin and Gogeta had like over 50. So yeah, over 60 if you combine both of them. So Gohan is in huge numbers here, and then we have basically every other color represented in the top 16 in like higher finishes. Now let's zoom in a bit, and let's take a look at top 8. Top 8 is like a better image of the competitive metagame. Top 16, you know, a lot of decks can get into top 16 depending on the size of the event. Top 8 is where you really see leaders which are like cream of the crop, you know, the best ones. And these are the best performing leaders currently in the game. So, first thing that we need to address, 20 out of 27 Gohans made it into the top 8. Only 7 were lost in this transition. When it comes to other leaders, 2 leaders fell off completely, but the other ones are still here, and the numbers for them are good across the board. They're just good flat out across the board. Every leader, which you see here, lost like 2 slots. About 2 slots, maybe 3, but I think it's about 2 slots, moving from top 16, transitioning from 16 into top 8. So that's pretty good. If they lost like 2/3, if they lost like 90%, if only one of them made it out of like 7 or 5, that would have been concerning. But they just lost like 2 decks, 2 slots in this transition, so that's pretty good. And looking at this, we can tell that Gohan is obviously one of the best decks at the moment. Then, if you're considering what else to play, you have Majin Vegeta, Soul Striker, SSG Trunks, Android 21, BT20, the other one didn't made it in, Golden Frieza, Frieza Swap, and Pan. So these are your go-to decks, the best performing leaders in the current metagame. Now let's zoom in one last time and look at top 4. Finally, let's take a look at top 4. So, only 4 leaders, 50% of top 8 had made it into the top 4. So, other 4 leaders just vanish when you come to top 4. Just gone. 8 Gohan decks, a grand total of 40% of the top 8 Gohan decks didn't make it into the top 4. However, across 7 events, there were 12 Gohans in top 4. So like Gohan is, without a doubt, he's killing it. Gohan is a phenomenal deck. Furthermore, 2 colors are fully absent from the top 4. So we don't have red anymore, we don't have black anymore. These are just gone, but completely gone. And yellow has lost like 4 decks. 4 of its decks as well, with only Majin Vegeta, with only 2 Majin Vegetas actually, transitioning into top 4. Blue has fully moved from top 8 to top 4. Everything in blue that was in top 8 is in top 4. So, blue is doing amazing. Green is just winning. Green. Gohan is winning. And then we have Majin Vegeta as the best performing yellow deck at the moment. So yeah, what's there left to see? One last thing. So we have seen top 16, top 8 and top 4. But what about wins? Let's check out which decks won events. These are the BT21 meta winners. So look at this. These are the winners of the last 7 events. 5 Gohans. Gohan won 5 out of 7 events. Man. So if you want to put this into a different context, I would say that Gohan, according to my old data, because we have only like 7 events registered here, in the old data I have more than 7, Gohan at this point in time won more events in a shorter period of time than Red Sin in the previous metagame, and won about as much as SS4 Gogeta, though in the first half, because Gogeta then proceeded to win more events in the second half. So overall, Gogeta still won more than Gohan in the bigger picture, but in the first half, Gohan won more events than Red Sin and won about as much as Gogeta. And then we have one Soul Striker and one Android 21. So what does this tell us? Well, this tells us that Gohan is it's undoubtedly the best deck at the moment. But like, I would still say that this is fine. Mostly because, there's always gonna be a best deck. There's always gonna be one deck that is better than the others. It's usually more than one. To be fair, it's usually more than one. It's like 2 to 3 good decks, like best decks. That's normal for card games. At this moment in time, Gohan is doing exceptionally well. We will see how and will this shift going forward, because none of this info is from before the Super Combo Loop ban. So we will see how Gohan continues to perform after the Super Combo Loop ban. But so far I would say it's okay. One deck being this dominant is in one metagame is okay, in my opinion, as long as it doesn't spill into other metagames. Like if Gogeta and Sin were the best performing decks in BT18, but they weren't in BT19 and BT20, that would have been fine. But they just continued their win streak. We will see what happens with Gohan. Finally, let's just address some other things here. Yellow, Black and Red still need to win a single event. This is a drastic change from the BT20 meta, definitely, because Black didn't win anything, I believe, but Red did and Yellow did as well, and we still need to see the effects of the emergency ban list. Now let's look at color diversity. Taking a quick look at color diversity. So we are taking all top 16/top 8 decks into consideration. Green is currently dominating, though this is mostly because of Gohan, who takes 27 out of 30 slots. So guys, please consider this. Gohan is taking 27 out of 30 slots. So saying that Green is strong, Green should be hit, Green is broken, isn't that much of an argument when only one deck is taking up everything. There's like only one. Without Gohan, Green crumbles. And that's very similar to the Gogeta Sin situation from the previous metagame, where you just saw what happened when Gogeta and Sin got banned. Like, Red is gone. Basically, it's gone. It just doesn't have any legs to stand on. This is the situation with Green at the moment. Green is practically dead, but it has Gohan who is carrying it, like a single deck. Then we have 26 blue decks. Blue goes into the newest metagame, into metagame BT21, from BT20, once again as the second best color in the game. I believe if Blue had Dirty Burst, it would have been the first. It just would have been the first. Just look at this. Blue is still doing well despite Green being so strong. Then Yellow is at healthy 19. So looking at the biggest three, there is a fair amount of balance between Green, Blue and Yellow. Yellow is falling off a bit, but if you look at the big three, there is a good amount of balance. There is not so much of a difference between slots 1, 2 and 3. But when you look at the other two, 10 red and 11 black decks, like, this is bad. Like, this is really, really bad. Like, especially red. Red is doing quite awful at the moment. Now let's just zoom into top 8 only. Let's exclude slots 9 to 16. So the balance between green, blue and yellow is still very healthy in the top 8. In fact, yellow has more decks than blue now, which is crazy considering that blue did better overall. But yeah, we have 20 green decks, 12 blue, 14 yellow. That's a very healthy balance if you ask me. However, this is where cracks begin to show for red and black, as both start to really struggle to keep up. Like top 8 is as far as both of these colors go in this metagame. Not a single one of them made it above top 8. So top 8 is the pinnacle for red and black at the moment. But for the other 3 colors, the balance is still pretty healthy. It's still pretty healthy. Like green is in highest numbers, but unlike previous metagame, it's not like overwhelmingly higher than anything else. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Now let's check out some other fun data that I thought would be cool for this video. Okay, so hopefully these ones will be fun, these upcoming slides. So this is movement over time. So if you look at the bottom line, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those are events. Those are events, and now we're looking at the representation, color representation movement over time. So what we can see here is that green is obviously doing the best. Blue had started off well, you know, with like 5 to 6 decks, but then as we've moved deeper into the metagame, it started falling off, and it has stagnated. It has stagnated a lot across like the next 3 events. Like it dropped from 6 to 3 and then 2 and then 2, and now it is slowly recovering, moving from 3 decks to 4 decks in the top 16. So blue had a good start, a very sharp drop, but now it's catching up slowly. So blue, a color to consider going forward. Yellow has been dropping off the further it went into the competitive season. So unfortunately, unlike blue, yellow didn't have the best start, and it peaked at 5 decks in the top 16 at the very middle of the competitive season, and it just started dropping off. And as you can see, it drops off very fast to like 2 decks and then stagnates, and it drops to 1 deck. Yellow is just falling, and we can actually see that in if we look at the winning decks, there's not a single yellow deck that won an event. So yellow needs something to keep up. You know, it's either a new deck to be discovered, a new tech to be discovered, or something, because yellow is struggling a bit to keep up with blue and green. Black has had a good peak. Like black had a healthy peak of like 3 in the middle of the competitive season. So the middle of the competitive season was when like 2 colors peaked, and then it started falling, but now like it actually hit 0 twice. It's the only color that actually hit 0 twice, except red, which is just stagnating at 0. But now it's slowly on the rise with like 2 red decks in the top 16 at the latest event, and then I believe that black will keep growing, as SSG Trunks is absolutely amazing, and red just took a nosedive. Yeah, red just plummeted, took a nosedive. It's dead. It's completely dead. Now let's take a look of the movement of different yellow decks across time, across events. So I've tried to make this one as readable as possible. Hopefully this is the last time we're using Excel. The future ones should be in Power BI. I'm working on importing them there, so it's gonna be a lot easier to follow through like interactive dashboards and everything. But so far, let's just look at this. Let's look how yellow decks are doing. So the green line, you can see further explanations in the small boxes below. It's once again across 7 events. The green line is Frieza Swap. Frieza Swap is consistently average. It's not like represented in super high numbers in top 16. There's like usually 1, but it's consistent. It's consistently average. when it comes to top 16 performance. Majin Vegeta, he starts with yellow and then just he kind of blends with orange. That's why you can see it, because Majin Vegeta is following Golden Frieza almost perfectly. For more insight, you can check the table. You can see that these two match completely. So both of these decks are rising and dropping at the same time. Like, both of them took quite a nosedive as Frieza swap just continued being consistently average. Based on performance, Majin and Golden Frieza look like better choices now because they had a very good peak before the dive, but Majin is still the only yellow deck which made it into top 4, so consider that. And Frieza swap is always a good option, and I believe that we will see more of it as we move forward because Frieza swap is amazing. So yeah, these are the yellow decks. Let's check out the blue ones. Looking at blue decks, we have a bit more of them, so please refer to the table at the bottom of the graph. Trunks Reboot took a while to recover. But you know, now is on a sharp rise. So Trunks Reboot is the green one. You see, like, it did average. It performed average at the very start, and then it just took a nosedive. For the longest period it was completely absent, and then it started rising up sharply. Trunks Reboot is phenomenal, and I think it will just continue to rise as people catch up to the deck, catch up to how good the deck actually is. Android 21 BT20 is performing the most consistently over time. It's also the one that won an event, so Android 21 BT20 is still very good. Soul Striker is also doing good as well. Soul Striker is the other deck, the other non-green deck which actually won an event, and only Expert 21 is the one lagging behind. So Expert 21 is the only one that's really struggling here when it comes to blue decks. It started off well, then it took a nosedive, and then like it recovered a bit, and then it took a nosedive again. So that one is a bit struggling. You might, if you're not an expert pilot, you might consider moving to the other Android 20 because that's the best performing one, or like Soul Striker, or maybe even Trunks Reboot, because I have high hopes for Trunks Reboot. But yeah, I think that's all. Let's jump into the summary. Before we end the video, let's just jump into the summary. Now let's summarize all of this. The metagame is at a very interesting point. Gohan is doing exceptionally well right now, but the rest of green remains quite bad. So just because Gohan is doing exceptionally well doesn't mean that green is any better than it used to be. Unfortunately, it's not. But one green deck is finally doing very, very well. Exceptionally well. So this is similar to the Sin and Gogeta situation, in which two decks hard carried the entire color, and we saw what happened. You know, when those decks were removed, it just collapsed completely. So hopefully that doesn't happen with green. Hopefully we get better green decks. Yeah, I know that this is a tall order, but we get better than the current green decks right now, and then we can just ban Gohan. If that happens, I'm against banning Gohan, but if Bandai decides to hit Gohan, we would at least still have like some legs to stand on. Now, the prediction that we're entering a yellow meta, all of the predictions that we're entering yellow meta were wrong. They were just like flat out dead wrong. I told you that we're not entering a yellow meta game. Everyone who said that was just panicking, and those people were wrong. Unfortunately, it happens. I'm wrong most of the time. So I know that this can happen. Right now, yellow is the third best color in the game, which isn't bad, because when you look at how black and red are holding on, yellow is in a much, much better position than black and red. Blue keeps being the second best color in the game, despite Gohan being the top dog at the moment. This says quite a lot about blue, because blue was the second best color from set 18 onwards. It lost Dirty Burst. The best color is the, you know, rival to blue, the green color, which does the best against blue, and blue is still the second best color in the game. So this is quite a lot about blue, to be honest, and it's mostly just generic blue stuff decks, just like generic blue stuff decks and Android 20, like here and there. Yeah, maybe we should take a look at blue. Maybe. Black is slowly on the rise. This is great to see, because black and green were the punching bags for the last couple of sets. SSG trunks the throne sky as the face of the color, and is performing really well at the moment, and I expect it to perform even better going forward. And finally, let's not make the video too long, finally red is dead, as expected. I told you when the ban list happened that red is dead. Red is just gone. Like, it's dead. Pan still does well here and there, but other than that, it's just gone. That's fine, because it will likely get better soon. I have a sneaking suspicion that red will get better soon. But for now, that's it for the video. Let me know in the comments below, what is your opinion on the current meta? So we just took like, I think 20 minutes, I still need to edit this, to go over literally everything for the current metagame, and yeah, now we have a bit of a better image of like where our game is at the moment. So let me know in the comments, what are your thoughts on the current metagame? I read all of your comments, I try to respond to everything. I really love our little community, and guys, like I said before, this took forever. This really took forever, because I need to like manually enter all of this information and go over it and stuff. So please hit those like and subscribe buttons, share the video, help us grow, help us reach 3,000 subs by the end of this summer. That would be awesome. This has been Damien from The Lookout, and I'll see all of you in the next video.